To Sean Fielding, the former leader of Oldham Council, disgraced, booted out, went running to Andy Burnham. To Andy Burnham and to everyone in Bolton's Labour Party. How would you like it if I was to come to Bolton with a team of child sex exploitation survivors with leaflets crowdfunded by the people of my town, delivered through the letter boxes of voters? How would you like it? Sean Fielding and the Labour Party. How would you like it if a team of survivors, child sex exploitation survivors from Oldham, were to descend on the streets of Bolton? Oh yeah.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011, he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
A very good evening. It is Sunday, the 29th of January 2023. For those of you new to this, my name is Raja Amir, and for the last approaching 5 years now, I have been fighting Oldham Council, Greater Manchester Police, the Manchester Evening News, the Oldham Times, the Oldham Chronicles, and the Labour Party, the Lib Dems, all of them, in exposing the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of my town's children, and the corruption and the complicity of those in positions of power in not just covering up the grooming and gang rape of children, but exposing, articulating, doing my best to explain why. Why in Oldham, why in Rochdale, why in Manchester, why in Tameside. Oh yeah. It goes on. Do not think for 1 minute that these grooming gangs operated in silos in local authority, borders, boundaries. No chance whatsoever. Sean Fielding is standing in Bolton, in a ward in Bolton. He thinks the people of Oldham have forgotten, and he has already started to threaten decent people in Bolton in an almost identical manner to what he did here. Well, no chance. Survivors of the grooming gangs have contacted me wanting to know if I have any plans of going to Bolton in the way I campaigned in Chadderton South, and whether they can come with me with leaflets so they can tell their stories of what Sean Fielding did and his council were complicit in. To my friends in the Labour Party, and indeed I do have friends in the Labour Party, the only political party I have ever been a member of is the Labour Party, and to all of you who know me, I have historically consistently described myself as a socialist. Clearly not the sort of socialism that this lot now know, but one where if you are in need, then others help you, and you have a responsibility to help others during their time of need. It's a very, very simple interpretation. It was one that I was taught from the example of the elders around me. So that's where I come from. So Sean Fielding, the Labour Party in Bolton, Andy Burnham, Angela Rayner. Do you want a team of CSE survivors descending onto the streets of Bolton, or is this man going to step down? For those of you who are new to these transmissions, please consider taking up a subscription. I'm told that Charlotte Green and her friends at the Manchester Evening News, Reach PLC, the Oldham Times, the Oldham Chronicle, the Mill, Tortoise Media, who all, by the way, rely on subscriptions, actually absolutely detest that this channel, these transmissions, my work is 100% funded by decent, ordinary people who have had enough and have waited in vain for someone to pick up the issues that they care about and be able to articulate and fight for them, which I have been doing for the last 4 or 5 years now, and I have suffered immensely for that. Those of you who know this will know I have suffered immensely for that. I was in court on Monday, and I didn't update until I think it was Thursday. So that was an intentional, by the way. And the week before I didn't update, and that was also intentional. There is a malicious blogger. Willa Booby! There is a malicious blogger who likes to, well, he has a high opinion of himself. So when I was in court on Monday, he wrote a story as though he was there, and that there was a trial next Thursday and Friday. He wasn't there, because if he was there, he would have known that the judge was not at all impressed with the CPS. The CPS had tried to contact, remember, my case management hearing is what these are called, and it is now June 2021. It was when I was arrested. One case collapsed in April 2022, and this is the second one that's still ongoing. It is now, what, 18 months? Over 18 months. And indeed, Tony, proud supporter, thank you. And people like Tony, come to court. People like Denise, come to court. Come and sit with me. And the judge wasn't happy. The CPS had tried to send him something on 6:30 p.m. on a Friday. He refused to open it, refused to read it, and told everyone in the courtroom what. Well, he spoke to the CPS lady, senior prosecutor, telling her not to send him things at 6:30 in the evening again. And he won't be reading them any more than he's read them now. She tried, the CPS attempted to block the hearing, the presentation of my defense and the various exhibits and the witnesses and stuff. That's what they tried to do. Tried to block the judge from seeing it. Claimed it was out of time. It wasn't out of time, but that's by the by. What the judge said was, have you seen it? The CPS woman said yes. Have you read it? The CPS woman said yes, because in the previous case management hearing, where it had been submitted, the CPS had requested additional time to review the documents. So they'd already had one case management hearing adjourned, and now they'd reviewed the documents. The CPS's position was to try and block the judge from reviewing the documents. The judge wasn't having any of it. And he asked what their issue was, and they apparently needed more time. So, my trial was scheduled for this coming Thursday and Friday. What's the technical term he used? He vacated the trial. He put it off until a later date, and he's using this coming Thursday. And I suggest as many of you as possible who want to be entertained, and for me this isn't entertaining, this is my life, but those of you who entertain the wrong word. Some want to be entertained. The majority want to support me. So those of you who want to support me, I suggest you get to court next Thursday, because you'll be able to hear every item of my defense and see what the judge has got to say about it as to whether it's allowed or not. The CPS left very unhappy. And another reason why, and the judge brought this up, another reason why the trial had to be vacated, postponed. Denise was there, Gary was there, Gail was there, a few others were there, and they all looked at me and I looked back at them. The judge didn't even know, the court didn't even know what I'd been charged with. That's right. The court, we're 18 months in, and in the bundle of paperwork that the CPS have rehashed and submitted to the court, there is no charge sheet. The court did not know what I'd been charged with. The judge who was presiding or due to preside over my trial had not even been presented with a piece of paper detailing what it is I was meant to have done. Thursday. Going to be interesting, I think. Okay. Sean Fielding. Residents in Bolton are understandably alarmed by Sean Fielding's nomination as a Labour Party candidate. He's not from Bolton, he's from Failsworth. If he's lived in Bolton, he's lived there for months, if that. A short period of time. He's already started campaigning about buses and stuff as though he's a, he's a local champion. And when news started spreading online by the likes of Oldham Eye, Jane Barker, Moyib, all victims, all harassed by this man. Sean Fielding did what Sean Fielding does best. He started contacting people who were sharing posts and threatening them. One of them was this man called Andrew. I've seen a few, by the way, so this isn't in isolation. Hi, Andrew. I have been made aware of this post. The post is false and defamatory, and I would appreciate it if you took it down. If you look online, you will see that the allegations of cover-up were conspiracies which were widely debunked, both by countless media investigations and by an inquiry conducted by the investigation who looked into the Rotherham child abuse scandal. Pause for a second. He's claiming that the allegations of a cover-up were conspiracies. The allegations of a cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of our town's children was apparently a cover-up. The allegations of a cover-up were conspiracies. And he's claiming that the Rotherham child abuse scandal investigators, and by the way, no, that was an independent assurance review. They forced the review. Remember? They forced the review. Oldham Eye. Remind everyone of the name of the, of what the review was called. But they forced the review, and it weren't these guys. They forced an independent investigation into Rotherham. Which I invited to come in and investigate during my time at Oldham. Lie. Complete lie. He's claiming he invited Malcolm Newsom and Gary Ridgway. No. What you had was the renowned Dr. Peel or whatever he was called, who ran away and refused to do the investigation on your terms, with your terms of reference, with the paperwork that you only allowed. And you went to Andy Burnham and he just tried to bolt it on to the investigation in Manchester and the investigation in Rochdale with his team that he already had of Malcolm Newsom and Gary Ridgway, con artists, a pair of them, as we've exposed. So no, you did not invite them to come in. Who I'm sure you will agree know what they are talking about. No. Oldham Heart is a party that was set up by Paul Taylor, a man who at the last minute was asked to step down as a parliamentary candidate for the Brexit party in Oldham in favour of somebody from out of the area. I can only speculate as to the reasons they didn't want him to be their candidate. So he's claiming that the allegations of a cover-up were conspiracies which were widely debunked both by countless media investigations. Which media investigation took place? None. All the media lot, they were his Labour Party mates, like the pyjama-wearing ponce Joshy Herman from the Mill, who's run away, by the way. Run a mile. Charlotte Green, Jennifer Williams. Exactly, mate. Exactly. Misleading the truth like a political slug he is. They take us for fools. So I want to do something with you. Please, so just bear with me. I got told... oops, sorry. If you just heard a bang, that was my touching my mic and knocking it. I got told a few people messaged me to say how they preferred last week's the transmission I did during the week, because I spoke really fast and I didn't think and I'd prepared it. It was a different sort of presentation. These are... I don't work like that. I'm not got a teleprompter, and I don't work like that. It's not something I prefer. I prefer to, if I look this way, it's because I'm reading what you're saying and I'm trying to keep you engaged and keep you going, really focused. Okay, I'm swapping the camera. I'm going to the mic, and I want to do something. I want to do something on this whiteboard. The word cover-up, means, this is the dictionary definition, and there's a few, definitions, but the most appropriate of the definitions is trying to hide the fact of illegal or illicit activity. That's what cover-up means. There's no ambiguity to that. That's what cover-up means. I remember Dr. Chohan's lawyers, and that's for another day, didn't like my use of the word death trap. Well, I took that from a dictionary, and I'm taking this from a dictionary as well. Okay. This is what I exposed. So we're very, very clear. One, historical, grooming and gang rape of children in Oldham had been kept hidden. Hidden, kept hidden, means cover up, right? 2. I then specified that children in broad daylight had been lured into shisha bars. Where they were groomed, raped, and trafficked. And what we mean by trafficked is they were sold. Okay? 3rd, the information I put out there raised concerns over a network of taxis and taxi drivers having access to children who they transported, groomed, and raped themselves. 4, I exposed that Oldham Council, the town's politicians, and Greater Manchester Police and the press, the mainstream media, knew and kept it hidden. Five, I exposed, and this would have landed me in prison if it wasn't true. If it wasn't true, it would have landed me in prison, is that I exposed that Jim McMahon knew and helped hide it. I exposed that not only did Shabir Ahmed, and remember they're now claiming this was all common knowledge, not only did Shabir Ahmed work for Oldham Council, but that he had access to children. I exposed that Shabir Ahmed was a member of the Labour Party and also a member of Oldham's establishment. I exposed, and by that I mean he was a director of the CAB alongside the great and the good in the town. I exposed that the reason Jim, OMBC, etc. claimed CSE claimed to hide CSE, as in keep it away from public knowledge, was to maintain community relations. And just to finish it off with a 9. I brought to light multiple examples of where children had been groomed, and one I keep going back to is Count Hill School, the gates of Count Hill School. Give me a second and let me turn this around. Okay, you should be able to see me now. Swap my mic back. He's claiming the cover-up is a conspiracy which was widely debunked. Barefaced lies was his response to the grooming and gang rape of children in Oldham. The barefaced lies was a response to how children had been dragged off the street into shisha bars where they were groomed, raped and trafficked. We now know that Oldham Council knowingly gave convicted child sex offenders licences. Not by mistake, but knowingly. We also now know that the council knew, the town's politicians knew, Greater Manchester Police knew, because they've been forced to apologise, and also the mainstream media knew. And they all worked together to keep it hidden. And remember, at the same time, the Lib Dem councillor for Shaw, Rod Blythe, I exposed as a child sex offender, convicted child sex offender. And all of these agencies, the police, the press, the council, and the town's politicians had worked together. It's a matter of fact now that Jim McMahon knew. And his defence was that blog he wrote, 18 months afterwards? No, he helped hide it. You can see from the transcripts within the report what happened. And indeed, Arooj Shah, thank you, in her last speech as leader of the council, forced to admit it was still going on. They claimed it was public knowledge that Shabir Ahmed worked for Oldham Council. Well, as we now know, it wasn't public knowledge that he was employed by the council for 18 years, seconded to the Pakistani Community Centre, where he had his little black book selling children to his customers, and that the police had charged him and forgot to tell the council, and the council continued to employ him where he continued to have access to children. Do you believe the police forgot to tell the council? And we can't get to the bottom of it, the reference that came from the mayor's office. We also now know, confirmed, that he was a senior member of the Labour Party, an influential member of the Labour Party, and also a key member of Oldham's establishment because he was a director of the Citizen Advice Bureau whose directors are only the great and the good and the establishment figures in the town. It's now also been confirmed that the reason that the council kept it hidden, so it wasn't a cover-up, they kept it hidden, was for the tensions to do with Lee Rigby and community relations because the BNP were campaigning. And we also know not only were children groomed and gang raped from the gates of Count Hill School, but the cover-up continues because Oldham Council and its partners, including Andy Burnham, Amanda Chadderton, Chief Superintendent Chris Bowen, all of them, Gerard Jones, the Borough Solicitor Paul Entwistle, the Director of Constitutional Service or whatever it is, Elizabeth Drogan, all of them sit at that top table. Not one of them will tell us how many of our children were groomed and gang raped. They won't even give a number. They have a number, they won't give a number. So people in Bolton, this, what we have been fighting for the last 4 or 5 years, has not been debunked. It is not a conspiracy or a far-right conspiracy, as these people repeatedly claimed. It is real. Children in our town were groomed and gang raped. White working class children in our town were groomed and gang raped by predominantly Pakistani men, occasionally Bangladeshis, almost exclusively Muslim, bloc Labour Party voting supporters. Its ringleader was a senior Labour Party figure in the town, a senior member, establishment Shabir Ahmed. And Sean Fielding is claiming it's a conspiracy and defamatory. This information is defamatory. Well, let's move on. Let's move on from just talking about the grooming gangs and the cover-up here, barefaced lies. Let's move on. During COVID, Oldham was about to get put in lockdown because of a spike in cases, predominantly because of specific communities like mine who were ignoring the rules. They tried to hide the ward data in the way they presented it. Community relations, I suppose. As the government was considering putting Oldham in lockdown, Sean Fielding and his girlfriend were on holiday in Lanzarote. They tried to hide it with coordinated press releases, time delayed press releases and all the rest of it. And at the time, Lanzarote was on the Foreign Office's please try not to go over list. In the moment of need, in the hour of need, the town's leader was in a rubber dinghy or a rubber whatever they're called, in a pool in Lanzarote. When it became increasingly apparent that he was going to be challenged in the town, Sean Fielding was the council leader responsible for the instigation. It was on his watch that Operation Hexagon was launched. People of Bolton, Operation Hexagon is a Greater Manchester Police and Oldham Council joint operation. Its purpose is to trawl through social media posts, Facebook, YouTube, so on, transmissions like mine, see who comments on it, and then trawl through their data to see whether they can find anything on the people who are commenting on it. Why? Why do you think? To attempt to criminalise, intimidate them, scare them, what? It's definitely unlawful. Andy Burnham knows it's unlawful, and he will not issue a statement on Operation Hexagon because he doesn't want to get drawn in. He knows what Oldham Council and Greater Manchester Police have done is illegal. All the MPs know that Operation Hexagon is illegal. It is unlawful. A day of reckoning will come. Bolton, do you really want any of this? And then what happened was that he used his position as leader of Oldham Council. Just give me one moment. Just give me one moment. Talk amongst yourselves. Listen to a song. Listen to a song. Whilst I find this.
I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again. Barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money, we're gonna spend ya. You won't want where it's all gonna end ya. You will never want to defend ya. 'Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting overthrown, postal phone. Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Hey Sean, you got a party? Got that little party going on?
Oh yes, we mobilised. We mobilised in a way that a working class town has never mobilised before. And we took him out despite the entire machinery of the Labour Party coming to Failsworth to try and protect him. So this Wolfgang Cole picked up on this, submitted an FOI request. And there's a transmission I've got at the time where I share the evidence. Apparently I never have the evidence. There's a transmission on Facebook from the time, and I'll copy and paste it at some point when I've got the time, where I share the evidence of just one case of how he harassed this lady and tried to get her sacked. And I know he's got other people sacked for daring to ask questions. So this is the FOI that went in. Dear Oldham Metropolitan Borough Council, over the last year, former leader of council, Councillor Sean Fielding, contacted the employers of several people to make a complaint about them. Under the Freedom of Information Act 2000, I am requesting the following information insofar that GDPR permits. For each case, 1st of January 2022, where Councillor Fielding contacted the employer of somebody not employed by OMBC to make a complaint about them, please provide the following: the date on which the complaint was made, the general nature of the complaint. Please clarify if Councillor Fielding used his official council email address or official council headed paper to contact the employer. Please clarify if Councillor Fielding was acting in a personal capacity, his capacity as a councillor, or free as leader of the council. If known, please let me know what the resolution was in each case, i.e. no action was taken, employee was reprimanded, sanctioned, etc. They won't get the E because the data isn't to do with Oldham Council on the last one, the data is to do with the employers. But A, B, C and D, okay? You can see the date, 13th of May, they're meant to respond in 20 days. Legal services is Paul Bentwhistle. They play around. It escalates. "20th of September 2021. You get a response. So 4 months. Tried to hide it. claimed GDPR prevents them. You can see. This is Legal Services, Paul Bentwhistle, lying. He knows what GDPR does or doesn't. Lying. They've got to submit a revised response on the 31st of March 2022. Do you see how long that's gone on? 31st of March 2022. The original Freedom, Open and Transparent Council, remember people, open and transparent, 13th of May 2021. And the actual response comes back '30th of March 2022. You can see there. 31st of March 2022. Nearly a year later. I'll show you. The date on which the complaint was made. They don't say how many people he complained about. 22 of the 7th, 2020. 23rd of the 8th, 2020. That's a falsehood from Oldham Council, because I know from speaking with victims directly, he complained about more than 2 people, unless they're trying to hide us. Do you see the value in asking questions in a specific way? The date on which the complaint was made, 22nd of the 7th, 2020, he could have submitted 10 complaints on that day. Do you see? We don't know. He could have submitted 10 complaints on that day, and the 23rd of the 8th, he could have submitted another 50. So we don't even know how many people he complained against. The general nature of the complaint, inappropriate comments, no. He called them racist, far-right activists, conspiring with criminals, so on and so on. He tried to ruin the lives of people. Inappropriate comments was not what took place. He submitted it from his Oldham Council email address. You can see there, and in his capacity as leader of the council. Sean Fielding should have been arrested by Greater Manchester Police. This is malicious communication and a clear case of harassment, if not malicious communication. It's an abuse of power, contrary to the Nolan standards, which I'll get to in a minute. All the victims gave statements to Greater Manchester Police. And you know what those bent scumbags did? Detective Inspector Kenny Blaine from Oldham Police Station, those corrupt criminal police officers did. They refused to look at the evidence. They refused to interview Sean Fielding, and they blocked it from going to the CPS. The criminal police officers complicit in the cover-up of gang rape of little girls blocked it. Detective Inspector Kenny Blaine and his pals at Oldham Police Station blocked it. Blocked an investigation, a criminal investigation. Now, of course, we now know Greater Manchester Police is infested with sex offenders of some form or another. Sexual misconduct investigations. What? The best part of 100 that they've had to admit to. What's the real number? Because we know these people cover up for each other. 3 times? 10 times? 1,000 of them? How many sexual predators are there in Greater Manchester Police? How many? They're investigating just under 100 that they've been forced to admit to. And I'll get to that in a moment. But Greater Manchester Police have been complicit in covering up for Sean Fielding, and the council, likewise, were complicit in the cover-up and delayed a standards investigation until he'd lost his seat, at which point they said, oh, he's no longer here, so we don't need to investigate. Can you imagine that in any other job? He's no longer here, so we don't have to investigate. Oh, he raped that girl in that toilet, but he's no longer here, so we don't have to investigate. Oh, he stole £10,000 and quit, so we don't have to investigate. Can you imagine that in any other role? He's no longer here, so we don't have to investigate. So he's in breach. He should have been investigated, because if he had been investigated and a report was made to the Labour Party, including Keir Starmer, and they covered it up. Of course, Sean Fielding is Angela Rayner's mate, the deputy leader of Oldham Council, and he was also the protege of Jim McMahon MP. He should not be standing as a candidate. And so Bolton, Labour Party in Bolton. We in Oldham have not forgotten, and we sure as hell have not forgiven. And this man has learnt no lessons. Do you want a contingent of Oldham people, including survivors of child sex exploitation, descending on your town, handing out leaflets, knocking on doors, warning them of not just Sean Fielding, but that he is standing with the support and endorsement of every other Labour Party councillor and politician in Bolton? Is that what you want, Bolton? For those of you new to this, my name is Raja Amir. I am in court on Thursday. Greater Manchester Police, Oldham Council, and Charlotte Green and her mates from the mainstream media have been attempting to have me imprisoned, criminalised for 4, 5, 6 years now. I'm still here. I'm still sharing not my truths, as Arud Shah once said. There's no such thing as my truth. I have been sharing the truth of what has been taking place in my hometown of Oldham, involving the corruption and the complicity of those who hold public office, to the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of my town's children, and the systematic corruption and fraud that infested the town hall. It would not be possible without the active partnership of the mainstream media, and as we've just demonstrated and we just made reference to, Greater Manchester Police, neck deep in this scandal. The same Greater Manchester Police that Andy Burnham is Police and Crime Commissioner for. He had Beverly Hughes, he delegated it to. She's quietly moved on. And now we've got the former MP, Labour Party MP as well, Kate Green, who was, from my recollection, Child Poverty Action, CPAG UK, I think, the chief executive of. I have met Kate Green, I have met Beverly Hughes, I've met Andy Burnham. I've got 56 likes. No one's bought me a coffee so far. And 254 people viewing the transmission. I think I'm just going to go and refill my drink, maybe get a bar of chocolate, and we'll carry on. These transmissions aren't scripted, and by the way, I saw some of the comments. Have I forgotten about the transmission? No, I'd not forgotten about the transmission. I'd been responding to some friends of mine. One of my uncles passed away earlier today. So that's where I was. Thank you for buying me those coffees. One of my uncles passed away. No, not really my uncle, but you understand what I mean. The places I grew up. And for those who say I've forgotten, you don't know me. I think by now it's very clear. Rain or shine, win or lose, whatever condition I'm in, whatever the odds I face, I turn up. So please, if I'm a few minutes late every now and then, it isn't because I've forgotten. Yes, Julie, you eat chocolate, and I will go and refill my drink. But please like, please share. 258 of you, and I've got 56 likes, and I'm sure many of the 258 of you you don't subscribe to the channel. At the very least, subscribe to the channel. It's completely free. And you can have the song. Oh, I never forgot the song. Sorry, I had it on the... I had the sound off.
I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced
Yeah, you listen to the song.
I'll say barefaced lies. Again, barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money, we're gonna spend ya. You can put one where it's all gonna end ya. You can feel me, we never wanna defend ya. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Hey son, you got a party, got that little party going on there. Keep to the left, you can't think right, so everything you do goes wrong, yeah. Incompetence just leads to disaster. Corruption brings it on even faster. What you say?
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money, we're gonna spend ya. You can put one where it's all gonna end ya. You feel me, we never wanna defend ya. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal phone, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money, we're gonna spend ya.
You know what we should do? We should get an ice cream van with that song and follow Sean Fielding and the Labour Party candidates around Bolton with an ice cream van. We should borrow an ice cream van and follow him around playing that. I don't think he or his friends ever, or the Labour Party, the machinery of the Labour Party, I don't think they ever realised what they were messing with. So what I'm going to do now is play something. No, let me do it this way. What should be news this week is this. And it was reported and then quickly gone over. Almost 100 Greater Manchester officers currently under investigation over sexual misconduct allegations. Almost 100 of them. They kept it secret. Yeah, they kept it secret. The fact that nearly 100 of them. And the figures were revealed a week on from ex-Met police officer David Carrick admitting to 49 offences, including 24 counts of rape. So the cover-up culture that's in the Met is also clearly apparent within Greater Manchester Police. Why were we not told? For those of you who follow my work during the week, I look forward to Tuesday morning, where we'll be doing some more freedom of information requests. And one of them will be to Greater Manchester Police and the Council and so on, regarding specifically, for me, from my point of view, I would want to know how many of these officers are based out of Oldham Police Station or Tameside Police Station. I would want to know. And I would also want to know how many of these 100 officers, as part of their day-to-day activities, have access to children. I think now it's inevitable. In fact, it would be a dereliction of duty now for local authorities. They need to run workshops in schools warning young women not to go near police officers, particularly male police officers on their own. It would be a safeguarding failure if young women were not warned about predatory male police officers. And I'm not saying this out of just, having a dig at them. I'm saying this from the other perspective of a career in child safeguarding. Head teachers need to warn heads of governors, the local authority designated officer. There needs to be an educational program introduced into schools immediately, warning children, educating children that they cannot trust police officers, particularly male police officers. And you're right, Julie. No woman should be alone with any policeman. I think that's just what's been proven by the Sarah Everard case, by the David Carrick case, and now by Greater Manchester Police having to admit they did not volunteer this information willingly. Almost 100 Greater Manchester officers currently under investigation over sexual misconduct allegations. And from my experience of Greater Manchester Police and how they operate behind lies, deceit, covering up for each other, if they've been forced to admit to 100, I'd say that figure is at least 3 times. At least 3 times. This is serious, people. And it gets worse, as you can see. I'll just click this. You'll see for yourself. And this is in the Manchester Evening News. It's not a conspiracy theory, is it? Senior GMP officer amongst those accused of sexual misconduct as new allegations emerge. A senior officer at Greater Manchester Police is amongst those currently being investigated for sexual misconduct. The police watchdog has confirmed as fresh allegations emerge. The unnamed officer was suspended from the force following the allegation and referred to the Independent Office for Police Conduct in October. The national body confirmed that the conduct referral was in relation to allegations of sexual harassment. The IOPC has now said that a separate allegation of sexual harassment by the same officer has been received. So multiple times. Yeah, this is cultural. Sorry, people. My police officer friends, I'm sorry. This is cultural. This has been allowed to fester. If a senior officer does it, then a junior officer looks at it and thinks, okay. It comes after GMP revealed that it is now investigating 82 officers for sexual offences or misconduct, with investigations for a further 16 concluded, and those officers currently awaiting a misconduct panel hearing. The figures represent around 1% of the force. 1%. That's not a few bad apples. 1% that they're admitting to. An IOPC spokesperson said, "We received a conduct referral from Greater Manchester Police in relation to allegations of sexual harassment by a senior officer. After carefully assessing the available information, we started an independent investigation on the 18th of October 2022. During the course of this investigation, we received a further conduct referral relating to a separate allegation of sexual harassment by the same officer. investigators continue to gather evidence and pursue lines of inquiry. The news follows former PC David Carrick admitting to 49 offences, including 24 counts of rape, before he was sacked from the Metropolitan Police last week. Greater Manchester's Deputy Mayor Kate Green told the Police Fire and Crime Panel that following Carrick's convictions, she wants to assure the public that officers found to have abused their positions will be rooted out from GMP. That's Kate Green, bottom left there in that photograph. And that's Stephen Watson and his dodgy mates. And now they try to cover it up. Councillors on the panel were told that all police forces are now required to check every officer against a national database, revisit any allegations that they may need further investigation, also revisit all vetting decisions. No, this isn't new. This isn't to do with checking new officers against a national database or revisiting vetting decisions. No. This is historical, cultural. You've not just hired 82 police officers or 100 police officers in the last tranche who've done this. And this is a senior police officer in this story, remember. Apparently, the vetting unit at Greater Manchester Police has some resourcing issues. So he hasn't got enough people there to vet. He's trying to shift it. This isn't a new challenge, is it? Yes, Marlene, shouldn't they have already been checked? Shouldn't they have already been checked? Steve Watson, Mr. Watson, Superintendent, Chief Constable, said the force will fully comply with all that is required and find the additional resources for vetting if necessary. Well, that's a contradiction. You've just said you've had some resourcing issues, and now, if necessary, you'll find the additional resources. You see, these people think we're stupid. Dismissals for sexual offences or misconduct have more than doubled in the last 12 months. In 2020, one police officer at GMP was dismissed. Do you see? That doesn't show that it was just one police officer in 2020. That shows this was culturally covered up. It's a Sarah Everard case, the horrific murder by a policeman. She trusted him because he was a policeman. Girls in our schools should be immediately warned about police officers. Amanda Chadderton needs to stand up and make the statement, but she won't, because one corrupt arm is covering up for the other corrupt arm. And that's why democracy in our town is broken. But in 2021, there were 5. Last year, 12 GMP officers were dismissed for sexual offences or misconduct. They have not been able to keep a lid on this. We treat all allegations of sexual misconduct by officers extremely seriously. Bullshit. Bullshit you do. And you will see this play out as they've now having to go back and revisit old cases. You'll see Terry Wood, GMP's Deputy Chief Constable, those words will come to haunt him. Mark my words on that. Where people believe officers have acted wrongly, I encourage them to make a complaint. Yeah. It's the grooming gangs all over again, isn't it? And assure them that all complaints are ethically recorded, fully assessed and investigated objectively. By who? Another officer who's involved in this? You don't even know which of your officers are involved in this. So who's going to investigate? His mate? Complaints can be reported to GMP's Professional Standards Branch online. I've submitted a complaint about a corrupt police officer with clear evidence over a month ago. I've not heard anything. These people are a joke. They are a disgrace. Greater Manchester Police is a disgrace. My daughter, who's 8, told me that a policeman recently visited her school. to talk about what the police do. I'm going to contact my school, my daughter's school, and I urge all of you with children and grandchildren to confirm what checks have taken place to make sure that the police officers who are attending schools are safe to be around children, safe to be around young women, particularly secondary schools, in my opinion. Who knows, you know? Child wearing a skirt, perhaps? God knows what could happen. Back to Sean Fielding. With the help of Debbie Cashmere. Finally, Debbie Cashmere. Once I find it. Here we go. You'll like this. Remember everything Sean Fielding did.
Second reading tomorrow. 10-minute rule bill, Debbie Abrahams.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Mr Deputy Speaker, I beg that leave be given to bring in a bill to place the codes of conduct for ministers, MPs and councillors on a statutory footing and for connected purposes. Mr Deputy Speaker, many, if not most of us, on all sides of this House become members of Parliament because we want to help improve the lives of our constituents and all citizens across our great country and its nation states. As MPs, we have duties set out in our now updated codes of conduct, which also apply to ministers and the Prime Minister. In addition to upholding the law and the general law about discrimination, these duties include acting in the interest of the nation as a whole with a special duty to our constituents, recognising the trust that has been placed on us as elected representatives, and to always behave with probity and integrity, including in our use of public resources. And within these duties, we have the general principles of conduct, often referred to as the Nolan Principles, which apply to all aspects of our parliamentary and public life. Selflessness, integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty, and leadership. But as we know, Mr Deputy Speaker, too often over the last few years we have seen a small minority of members pay scant regard to these duties and to these principles, even willfully ignoring them. The scandals of the last few years aren't the issue of just one administration. The Parliamentary Commissioner of Standards, who is responsible for regulating the Members' Code, was initially set up in 1995 to investigate the Cash for Questions affair, and there have been other scandals since then. These have usually resulted in changes to the members' and ministerial codes, as well as the business appointment rules, which regulates the so-called revolving door employment between the public and private sector of former ministers and senior officials. The impact of these abuses can't be underestimated. It may be a tiny minority who bend or break the rules, but we all become tarred by the same brush, corrupted by association. According to polling by Compassion in Politics, 4 in 5 people have no respect for politicians. 40% of parents would be concerned if their child expressed a desire to become a politician. ONS data shows that only 1 in 3 people trust the government, and 2 in 3 think politicians are only out for themselves. So just pause for a moment to consider what this tells us about the health of our democracy and the prospect of democratic engagement in Britain today and in the future. Many members will have experienced firsthand the extreme effects of the steady disintegration in our social fabric. Too many voters have become apathetic, some have become actively hostile. Hate, intolerance and violence, these are all products of the escalating distrust and increasing disdain with which the public views the political class. Part of how we restore confidence in politics and politicians is by actively demonstrating that all elected representatives will abide by the rules and principles set out in our codes of conduct. Mr Deputy Speaker, I want to acknowledge the role and work of the Parliamentary Commissioner of Standards and their office in regulating the Members' Code. I also recognise the work of Honourable, Right Honourable and Noble colleagues on the Committee of Standards and Privileges, the Public Administration and Constitutional Affairs Committee and the Committee on Standards in Public Life. I also pay tribute to the lay members of these committees. These committees represent recent reports, recommendations for changes to strengthen the various codes of conduct will, I believe, help in this regard. However, there is the need for much more significant reform in the accountability systems that regulate Parliament's conduct. The current systems are spiders' webs built up over the last 400 years or so, interacting and overlapping. Inevitably, there are still issues. My bill can't deal with everything that's needed for a whole system reform, but it can tackle the most serious and urgent issues. And, Mr Deputy Speaker, I believe the first and most egregious is the Prime Minister remaining the arbiter of the Ministerial Code. The terms of reference for the new so-called independent advisor to the Prime Minister on Minister's interest, appointed on the 22nd of December last year, have not changed since the previous advisor under the former Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Member for Uxbridge and South Ruislip. They still fail to give independence and autonomy to initiate new investigation into breaches of the Ministerial Code or to publish the findings of any investigations. This has to change. My bill proposes that, as in Northern Ireland, the Ministerial Code, including the 7 Nolan Principles, is put on the statute and that an independent commissioner on ministerial standards is established as a statutory office. His or her role would be to advise the Prime Minister on all aspects of the Ministerial Code, to undertake investigations both independently and referred into potential breaches of the Code, to appoint a panel of parliamentarians and lay members to take part in such investigations, to publish the findings of such investigations, and to make recommendations regarding sanctions for any breaches. He or she will also have the power to make a statement on ethical matters of general public interest affecting ministers. The second issue is how members of Parliament are held to account outside of election time. The October 2022 Code of Conduct Procedures sets out what the Parliamentary Standards Commissioner can and can't do to hold MPs to account on potential breaches of the Code. It defines other regulatory systems that also hold members to account, for example on expensive, which is the Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority, or conduct in the Chamber, which obviously is the domain of Mr Speaker. But under paragraph 17, it expressly prohibits the Commissioner from investigating allegations solely about breaches in the 7 principles of public life. Although this has been argued that this is because principles aren't justiciable, for me this is a gap. Although this has been, apologies Mr Deputy Speaker, my bill proposes the Parliamentary Standards Commissioner should also become a statutory office, and that under their purview, in addition to investigating members for potential breaches in Code of Conduct rules, they could also be investigated for serious and serial breaches of the 7 principles of public life. Thirdly, I want to talk about the important role our local councillors play in our communities and our democracy as a whole. Again, the vast majority of councillors work tirelessly trying to make a difference in their communities. But unfortunately, there are a minority who use their position for their own purposes and who threaten our democracy as a result of this. Currently, although there is a requirement for councillors to have a councillor code of conduct under the 2011 Localism Act, this code varies greatly between different local authorities. My bill proposes a standardised statutory councillor code of conduct which includes the Nolan Principles and is accompanied by a statutory accountability system. Finally, I believe we need to review how our parliamentary system with the elected representatives within this is
Thank God,
regulated in a way
finally.
that reflects the modern, inclusive, empowering democracy that we want to become in the 21st century and beyond. Polling by Compassion in Politics found that 76% of people believe they should have the right to influence our codes of conduct. As such, my bill proposes that an independent ethics commission of constitutional legal experts is established by Parliament to advise on system reforms. The Ethics Commission will also work with Citizens' Assembly to come up with final recommendations to Parliament. As you know, Mr Deputy Speaker, as co-chair of the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Compassionate Politics, I've argued for the need to reform the culture of our politics. The Prime Minister and other government ministers and members have themselves talked about the need for compassion in politics. Good policies can only come from good politics. This has to start with the conduct of those in high office, and as such I hope the government will support my bill. Before I finish, I'd like to extend my thanks to Matt Hawkins in Compassion in Politics, George Hume in my office, and to Jolyon Morn of the Good.
Okay. She wants to introduce a bill that holds politicians to account. In the statute book, she wants it to become law. What was it? 40% of parents would be concerned if their children became politicians. I've been clear with many of you from the outset when my daughter was 4 years old, when some of us began this journey, 3 or 4. I clearly won't say it to her again because she might understand it. But as a 2 or 3 year old, I said to her, I'd rather she become a prostitute than a politician. And that was at the time based upon what was going on. If Debbie Abrahams, and I'm being serious here, by the way, to those at Oldham Council and the Labour Party who watch. If Debbie Abrahams believed a word of what she said, she is the MP for Oldham East and Saddleworth. If she believed a word of what she said, she would be calling for an inquiry into Sean Fielding's actions. She'd also be calling for an inquiry into Arud Shah, who, by the way, now is the chair of the National Constitutional Committee or something in the Labour Party. Used to work for Debbie Abrahams, by the way, Arud Shah. If she believed any of that, no. Instead, what she's doing is knocking on doors and running away. And when people asked why she doesn't give notice before she knocks on doors or why she's not having surgeries, she's claiming security reasons. These security reasons emerged only after Debbie Abrahams co-signed a letter with Jim McMahon calling me a racist and you, members of my town, far-right activists, after the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape had been exposed. This is the same Debbie Abrahams who sat in Parliament alongside Jim McMahon whilst he used parliamentary privilege to make outrageous allegations against me and members of my town. There's a reason why Debbie Abrahams and Jim McMahon are nowhere to be seen and only do flying visits and disappear. It's because they're running scared. They're running scared of what decent, ordinary people will say to them, because what she references about the contempt, the statistics for the contempt of politicians and the complete absence of trust, she only needs to look in the mirror. I urge Debbie Abrahams, as the MP, because we have got to work with the leaders we've got, to issue a statement about Count Hill School and how the council should, at the very least, confirm how many of our town's children were groomed and gang raped. I also urge Debbie Abrahams to stop hiding behind this security concern. If Greater Manchester Police, even this corrupt and criminal Greater Manchester Police, if Greater Manchester Police had any security concerns over the safety of politicians from meeting members of the public, running surgeries, they would have issued a statement. I've trawled through Greater Manchester Police's press releases. There's not a statement whatsoever about security concerns for MPs. Sorry, I've just seen these two comments. I'm going to put them up. Indeed, Tony Marty and Howard Sykes. Where is her statement on Howard Sykes? Where's her statement on Rod Blythe? Where's her statement on Abdul Jabbar launching his re-election campaign alongside a convicted sex offender? Where's her statement on Akil Salamat, the convicted benefits cheat, isn't he? The Labour Party councillor for St Mary's. Where's her statement on on Jim McMahon? Where's your statement on yourself, Debbie Abrahams? Those of you new to this will know that I published a series of documents exposing Debbie Abrahams, the MP, as she doctored evidence and attempted to frame me. The police interviewed me under caution. As a consequence of a dossier of doctored evidence Debbie Abrahams presented to them. The police then quickly retreated when my solicitor and I showed them what the real exchange had been. When I reported Debbie Abrahams to the police, Detective Inspector Kenny Blaine, again the gatekeeper, the Labour Party gatekeeper, claimed it's what everyone does, present evidence so it favours them. Well, you prick. What your job was to check whether the evidence stood up to any level of scrutiny before threatening me with arrest and telling me I've got to come into a police station, otherwise you have the powers of arrest. Yeah. Greater Manchester Police are corrupt, and if she had any decency, if this woman had any decency, she would resign with immediate effect. Instead, she's reliant on the Pakistani bloc vote to keep her in power, which is potentially why she recently had to declare £15,000 or £20,000 of income from the Pakistani government. I've heard nothing like it in my life. A government funding an MP. What next, Debbie? A 10-minute, parliamentary... These are 10-minute discussions, by the way. They get 10 minutes to promote a bill. What next, Debbie? A 10-minute bill on opening up polling stations in Mirpur? It is 10 minutes past 9 and we've not got to the main bits of the transmission yet, which is to do with Amanda Chadderton. Go and get yourself a brew. Come back in a couple of minutes. Maybe buy me a coffee. There's 391 of you viewing. These are record figures, by the way, for a Recusant 9 transmission, a live, for live viewers on YouTube. 391 on my screen in front of me. Go and get yourself a drink. I promised people I valued that I'd go through this with them, and I think I want to pause and give it the, listen to it properly. Give you a chance to listen to it properly. Again.
Too often, I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced
Just wait.
lies. Again, barefaced lies. Too often, I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Because we wanna where it's all gonna end, yeah. If you do, we have wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting cold, overgrown, postal phone, barefaced lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Hey Sean, you got a party? Got that Labour Party going on there. Keep to the left, you can't think right. So everything
agenda, and it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? 'Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit and holy, overflowing, postal rolling, better face. That's right, and it's our agenda, and it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? 'Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit and holy, overflowing, postal rolling, better face lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Comrades, you always told us you'd build us all a new Jerusalem, yeah. You talk the talk, but when you walk, you only leave a crooked line there. And you don't see the trouble that's brewing if all you do is just what you're doing.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. It's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? 'Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit and holy, overflowing, postal rolling, better face lies.
Is this where you wanna be? Debt and childhood poverty. Won't somebody set us free from this corrupt kleptocracy? Oh yeah. Barefaced lies.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda, and it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? 'Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit and holy, overflowing, postal rolling, better face. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda, and it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah?
I met with Liam this morning. Well, you all know I currently live in Tameside, and Liam is a Conservative councillor who started following my work long before I met him, and he's brave enough to put his comments up. Anyway, Liam gave me a call last week, I think, and I'd arranged to have a catch up with him. I think we catch up once every 2 or 3 months, don't we, Liam? So he took me for a coffee somewhere in Staley Bridgeway, and I dropped him back off where he lives, and you know what he did? He'd bought himself a carrot cake, and he talked up this carrot cake with the lady who was selling us the carrot cake, and you could see he was looking forward to his carrot cake when he got home, or at some point today. He'd left it in my car. So I sent him a message with the carrot cake. Liam, it's good carrot cake. You'll have to tell the girls you bought it off. It's definitely good carrot cake, and I very much enjoyed it. Okay. Let me bring this up. Marlene, I never have cake in the house. This was meant to be. It was meant to be. This was put up by the Royton Independents 5 days ago. Councillor Amanda Chadderton. Do you think this is leadership? Councillor Amanda Chadderton attended the community clean-up on Saturday 21st of January in the New Coin Street area. After staying for only a short period on Saturday morning, then using the event for a photo opportunity, the Royton Independents are asking, is this leadership? As the leader of Oldham Council, why did you think it was appropriate to take a quick selfie, get it on your I Love Oldham platform and leave? So I Love Oldham is an Oldham Council funded platform. You pay for it. How does this behaviour fit in with the Don't Trash Oldham initiative? As a local councillor, why haven't you taken action earlier to include this area in the council's clean-up initiative? Instead, you left it to be fixed by unpaid volunteers. It's clear to the Royton Independents and the people of Royton we are not getting a fair deal. This is exactly why Royton needs councillors who genuinely care and are passionate about making a difference for the community they serve. And it goes on, yeah. So what Amanda Chadderton had done was she'd put up a photograph, and her post suggested that she'd done more work than what she really had. Give me a moment and I will bring this up. If I can, just give me 1 second. Sorry, I'm banned on the I Love Oldham page. I never did anything to them, but I'm banned on it because, well, you know why. So I've got to find a different way of getting to it, but here we go. Thank you so much to Jeff and Matt for organising this morning's Royton litter pick. Lovely weather to be out, and it's incredible what a relatively small number of people can achieve in a couple of hours. The area looks so much better. Suggestion there, from my point of view, the suggestion there is that she was one of the small number of people can achieve in a couple. She was one of them. She'd been there all that time, and that is her contribution. She turned up for a photo shoot. Oh, Aaron. If you live in, I've triggered someone. Oh. You missed a point, don't you? You're not very bright, are you, lad? You missed a point completely. The council leader is one suggesting she's done more than she has and used it as a photo opportunity, to use the contributions of volunteers as a photo opportunity. And secondly, what the Royton Independents are showing, highlighting, is something I'll say to all of you. If the leader of the council is out with a team of volunteers picking up litter, even if she was there for 6 hours, what that is a demonstration of, is a failure of the policy. Remember, £1 million and more has been invested in the Don't Trash Oldham initiative. And yet, volunteers are having to take to the streets to clean up their own communities in areas like Royton, who have not received their fair share And it's what we've been saying all along. There are wards in this town that pay disproportionate amounts of money and receive an inferior service. So after paying a disproportionate amount of money, they're having to clean up their own communities themselves. And not their immediate streets and houses, but areas where fly tipping and stuff is taking place, where the council are failing to do their job. So Amanda Chadderton didn't like it. Didn't like it one bit. And she responded by going on and posting on what presents itself to be an independent Facebook page. But we know many of these pages are not independent. So she went on something called Royton Community Hub. Let me try and bring that up. Royton Community Hub is not independent. It's another one of the council run, funded by you, web pages that pretend to be independent, but they're not. And many of you are banned off it. It's just, you know, it's tyranny. It's tyranny. And here you go, Royton Community Hub. Let me try and find the post if I can. Look, see, budget consultation. See, that's nonsense. Sorry, there's a lot of content on here, so I'll have to keep. But I'd like to show you. Yeah, let me try and find it, and I'd like to show you. Let's see if I can do it this way. Here we go. Oh, what happened now? This is the post. Here we go. So this is Amanda Chadderton. Royton litter pick. This is her response. As people may know, on Saturday I went to a litter pick in Royton and posted about it on my councillor Facebook page. It was then shared in here by one of the organisers. Oh, Amanda. Let's start with what happened. It was shared on here, not in here, on. It was shared on the I Love Oldham page, Amanda Chadderton. Okay? The council funded page. The council's own official page. That's where it was first shared. And it may have been shared in Royton Community Hub as well. But let's not pretend it was shared. It was shared on here by one of the organisers. You posted comments, Amanda Chadderton. You posted very specific comments. You wait all you want, lad. We took out Sean Fielding. We took out Arood Shah. We took out Hannah Roberts. We took out some of your coldest clowns. I'm not playing your game, Labour Party boy. You watch. You watch. How you doing in Failsworth? Idiot. I didn't claim any credit for organising. Well, you suggested it. And praised the work of the 2 volunteers who had done so much work to improve the area of Royton. No. If you'd done that, Amanda, if you had done that, you would have posted the 2 volunteers cleaning up, not a picture of yourself. If you had done what you claim, you would not put a picture of yourself up and leave it as ambiguous as you did. And that the leader of the council is resourcing to defending herself on a Facebook page just shows the level she operates at. This is Sean Fielding like. Since then, I've seen a social media post by other people that were there, not the organisers. Okay, so other people that were there, what does that mean? Other people who were cleaning up? Other volunteers? Telling what can only be described as lies about me being there. What were the lies? You arrived late and left early. How is that lies? How is that lies? If they had any issue with me being there, then they had more than enough time to say something directly to me. Why would they? They did exactly what astute politicians would do. Watch you dig your own hole. Why would anyone want to intervene when you were digging your own hole? And you followed it through with your post and your ambiguous statement, which clearly suggested or left it open to suggest one thing rather than another. Instead of writing some made-up story on social media 3 days later. You'd know all about made-up stories, wouldn't you, Amanda Chaddderton? But this wasn't a made-up story. They asked you a legitimate question. Amanda, did you arrive late and leave early? It's a simple question. Did you arrive late and leave early? And if you're promoting the volunteers, why did you put a picture of yourself up? I haven't got the time to respond to every lie that is told about me on social media. And it's ridiculous to lie about something as simple as a litter pick. Whoa. However, it also undermines trust in local councillors and makes people cynical and negative, and sometimes you have to call out the pettiness of it. I shared, on purpose, prior to sharing this, Debbie Abraham's statement with her data. Was that imbecile gone? The MP Debbie Abraham's own data about a lack of trust in politicians. It has very little to do with a litter pick. I haven't got the time to respond to every lie that is told about me on social media. But it's ridiculous to lie about something as simple as a litter pick. Has she got a GCSE in English? It should not be an no, as a litter pick. As litter. She writes like she talks, I think. Well, I'm afraid that litter pick is not simple, and if it was simple, with your £1.5 million of resources into Don't Trash Oldham, you'd have done something more. You'd have had more of an impact if it was if this was a simple solution, Amanda Chadderton, it would not be a priority concern for the people of this town, irrespective of which ward they live in. The political debate in Oldham in recent years has become toxic. It's become toxic because your party have been complicit in the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of our town's children. It's become toxic because your mentor, Jim Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon, was leader of the council, and you, his protege, was involved in covering up the grooming and gang rape of the town's children and then calling decent people far-right racists, which is what you've continued to do yourself, Amanda Chadderton. It's become toxic because of Arood Shah and her mobster affiliations, which you've never spoken out against. It's become toxic because of Greater Manchester Police's complicity in criminality in this town and the council inability to hold them to account because they have shit on you and you have shit on them. It's become toxic because your council, your Labour Party council, sold off our community assets to dodgy Asian businessmen on the cheap. It's become toxic because your council, your Labour council, secretly funded mosques that harvested postal votes for Labour Party politicians. It's become toxic because the majority of people in this town, or a growing number of people in our town, have had enough of you, your lies, and your damn right failure to uphold any standards in public life. I turned up on Saturday because I love Royton. If you love Royton so much, why don't you live in Royton? Why don't you live in the community that you're a councillor for? If you love Royton so much. You made a choice of where you bought your house, didn't you, Amanda Chadderton? Calling her own constituents liars. How toxic is that, Amanda? Yeah, she can't even see the contradiction, Nick. She's on about toxic politics, yet she's the one who resorts to toxic language, calling people liars. I turned up on Saturday because I love Royton. I take massive pride in what a great place it is, and I wanted to support Matt and Jeff, and I had assumed everyone turned up for the same reasons. Everyone turned up to clean up. That's why they were there on time and left on time. And I don't think the others... I don't remember... Nick, did the Royton Independents take selfies? Oldham would be a lot better place... What is this? This is the leader of the council. This is the leader of the council. Who's taught her to read and write? Did she not have the education portfolio at some point? Oldham would be a lot better place. Would be a lot better place. Oldham would be a lot better place. Oldham would be a lot better place. Okay. Oldham would be a lot better place if we all built on some of the positivity and not try to use a community litter pick as some kind of political football that in the end will only divide people and put them off taking part. What nonsense of a statement is that? There's about 4 different sections to that sentence, but let's start. Oldham would be a lot better place if we all built on some of the positivity. No, Oldham would be a lot better place if we dealt with, if you had the courage to deal with your dodgy Asian councillors who have worked in partnership with Jim McMahon, Sean Fielding, Arood Shah, to bring this town to its knees. When Royton Medical Centre And we exposed Dr. Chauhan's role in that, and he's suing me, by the way, which we'll get to on a different day. She didn't even have the courage to go and stand outside and photograph herself outside the medical centre that the Care Quality Commission had found to be in multiple statutory breaches. Damning report. She didn't even have the courage to go and stand outside there and take the photograph. So she took it outside a medical centre that was not at fault. And try not to use a community litter pick as some kind of political football. I'm sorry, Amanda. You're the one who used it as a political football by posting a selfie of you at a litter pick. You tried to use it for political gain by posting a selfie of you at a litter pick. That was then shared on the I Love Oldham page. You are the person who tried to use this as a political football. And in the end, will only divide people. Divide people from what, Amanda? The inept to those who aren't inept. The corrupt to those who aren't corrupt. The rape gang protectors or the partners in rape gang to those who care about children. What? Where are the division lines, Amanda? To those who eat samosas and not sausage rolls? Where are the division lines? And put them off taking part. Put them off taking part of what? Amanda Chadderton. These people shouldn't be cleaning up their own streets in the way they have. Because you've got £1 million scheme that isn't doing what it's meant to do. Don't trash Oldham. Labour has trashed Oldham. Indeed, Gary. And yes, Sally, her and the Labour Party uses political football daily. Has she ever watched back a political football behaviour at full council meetings? And Captain Underpants has finally joined. Makes previous leaders look intelligent. And you're right, Karen. It is indeed Labour that has divided Oldham. What I find incredulous as Tony suggests, what I find incredulous is that the leader of Oldham Council, having been embarrassed by the manner in which he attempted to use a litter pick for political gain, has resorted to Facebook, to posting on Facebook, attacking members of the public and calling them liars. When what she should have been doing is talking about the power of volunteers, perhaps. How much Don't Trash Oldham is only effective with the added voluntary contributions of members of the community. Maybe as a Royton councillor, she should be saying where the £1.5 million or whatever it is Don't Trash Oldham has had. How much Royton has had as its fair share. It hasn't, by the way. Amanda Chadderton is a very poor leader in a sequence of poor leaders. And I think it's telling that the comments underneath that, significant number of them have been deleted. And one of the first ones to have been deleted was Julie Hayward's. Remember, Amanda Chadderton has felt so passionate about this, been embarrassed by her role at a litter pick and the way she tried to use it for political gain. Julie Hayward's response went something along the lines of, well, at least it didn't destroy your life. Or at least you can't say it's destroyed your life. The symbolism, of course, back to the CSE inquiry, where she stood up and said, you can't say it's destroyed their lives. Being gang raped, can't say it's destroyed their lives. Well, you can't say it's destroyed your life here, has it? Have you, can you, Amanda Chadderton? And you know what happened to Julia Haywood? She got banned off that page and her comment got deleted. We've got a treat on Tuesday morning. We've got a treat with the Freedom of Information request on Tuesday morning. You'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy it very much. This is a joke. This is an absolute joke. She's a disgrace. She's an utter disgrace of a council leader. And no amount of Labour Party spin doctoring on social media will stop decent local people who live in the community from asking questions. Do you see, it goes back to exactly Sean Fielding, Arud Shah, all the same. Don't like being held up to scrutiny, which is why Operation Hexagon exists and you and I are being monitored by Greater Manchester Police. And why so many of you received those ASBI letters with a policeman delivering them to your house. And now the police are saying it's got nothing to do with them. This is a house of cards. Corruption, corruption, complicity in corruption. And there will be a reckoning. There will be a reckoning. For those of you new to this work, new to me, 479 of you so far this evening have joined me. For the just under 500 of you who've joined me this evening, if you find value in these transmissions, at the very least, like the post. Maybe subscribe to the channel. Buy me a coffee or subscribe to the webpage. It's 2p a day. You can sign up for £1 a month. And no, I don't earn minimum wage or come anywhere near it. I want to finish on something important. More important than anything we've gone through tonight. For me, anyway. Sorry, I'm just seeing... Brother Barry has put up a post and it got blocked off on my filter for some reason, but I've put it up now, Brother Barry. Brother Barry. It's not like Brother Jamal. You will see once again the complete absence of our town's politicians, who are all viewing this, by the way, or plenty of them are, from commenting, supporting, having the courage to step forward. I find that telling. And if you like the candles in the background, it's because I went to Tesco earlier. I had to stock up on candles. £19 the combination of candles cost me. I hope you're impressed with the backlighting. Okay. The seriousness. I had a cup of coffee earlier on this week. I have coffees when I'm invited. I know Gary Lees has invited me, but sorry, Gary, I can't have a coffee with you tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock. I've got a whole host of actions to do in the lead up to my court case on Thursday, so I'm tied up, I'm afraid. But maybe another time. I met with... Thank you for the coffees. I met with David Gidman and Dean Ludford for a coffee in Morrison's in Failsworth for a while, and I've still got it here, David. I need to give you your child's phone back. When the police took all my equipment, it was David Gidman who lent me a phone, and I used it for a year. And I've existed. This isn't about money. I've existed off the kindness of people who are strangers to me, who've come to become family, as far as I'm concerned. And when I was having and come on, lads, it's the crappiest coffee shop in the world, isn't it? The coffee bit in Morrison's, but I get it, you know. And Dean looked devastated, and his the mother of his children had been sent home to die. And I know she lost her life a couple of days afterwards, or the day after I spoke with him. And I really feel for him. And I wanted to share that. I really, really feel for him. He's a very good man. Dave is a very good man. These people have been condemned as racist and far-right activists and nothing of the sort. They're decent human beings. And the independent movement in Oldham, which effectively began in Failsworth, would never have happened if it hadn't been for Dean and the work he's done. In another world, in another generation, Dean Ludford would be a senior Labour Party councillor. He's bright, he's sharp, he's a working class lad. He gets his community. But unfortunately, that's not the world we live in. So my condolences to Dean and his family. And yeah, I'm just grateful to have people like you in my life. And many of the others, many of you who have met and shared time with. I think this is what they are most fearful of. Every day our numbers grow. Every day we become stronger. And every day the lies they tell about people like me to people like you, and about people like you to people like me, every day these lies fall apart once we join together on a united cause, which is taking our town back. And we're winning. Thank you very, very much for joining me. My name is Raja Mia. I do indeed have an MBE. I still have an MBE. They've been trying to take it off me for a long time, but I have an MBE for services to my community. I have helped keep our country safe from extremists for the best part of 20 years and more. And the work I'm doing now, if I'm honest with you, is more relevant and more powerful than anything I've ever done before. So to my friends in the Labour Party, to Greater Manchester Police, to Andy Burnham and his fake liberal metropolitan elite that run the newspapers, we have a message for you.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.